I'm now going to teach you the knife fighting, which is the core of the Filipino martial arts. Knife fighting is very scientific. It's a lot more to it than just this strike or coming in with a reverse punch with a knife and doing a block and doing a strike. A lot of things that I read about in magazines and in books, the idea of a block is totally against what we're into, and I'm going to show you why. Okay, Charlie. For instance, what I see a lot is the infamous X block. Now, if I'm coming down with a strike with this blade, and if he comes in with an X block, this is the idea of what I'm saying isn't going to work. From his strike here, we've got a slight structural problem. Now, I see this over and over in books and in magazines. Now, the idea of the X block is correct, but the usage of it isn't. Now, we're going to do the same X block with two different variations. He's going to angle, and he's going to cut the hand on the first motion. And this is what the Filipino martial arts is all about, cutting the hand on the first motion, defanging the snake. If you defang the snake is harmless. So now he's going to do that same X block, only we call it a roof block. He's going to zone, and he's going to cut the hand on the first motion. Now watch the difference in economy of motion. I'm going to come in with my strike. Here's the X block, but here's the cut and the disarm right away. Now that you see that cutting is more important than blocking, you're also going to find out that it doesn't matter what type of knife you have. You can use a machete with this length, or you can use a small pocket knife with this length, the balisong. Doesn't matter, the point being that you cut on the first motion. You have different grips that you can use. You have what we call the dumgob grip, or the pakal grip. If you have a standard grip, we're not too concerned with is your thumb here, is your thumb here, is your thumb here. Is the knife here, is the knife here? Because when you knife fight, you're going to move, and your movement is just going to speak for itself. It doesn't necessarily matter if the knife is in the front hand or if the knife is in the rear hand. People have their own personal preference. Some people like to use this grip in the front hand. Others like this grip in the front hand. Others like this grip in the rear hand. They'll use this hand and come down here. Others like this. I prefer this grip myself, but this is my own personal preference. Just straight ahead, facing, moving around. You don't really need power because you got a sharp knife here, so you put it in your front hand. That's naturally the quicker hand. So now that we know that you can use any blade you want, any size you want, anything from a tiny pocket knife to a large machete, and any of those variations are going to be applicable to this tape, I want you to take a wooden knife and train with a wooden knife. This is what we're going to train with. If you don't have a wooden knife, you can take a regular knife and tape the edge. By taping the edge, you're not going to cut yourself. With this in mind, I want you to grab a knife and let's get training. Now, you have a knife in your hand and you're ready to get started. You'd like to know how to defend yourself against a knife. This is the first thing you want to know. Well, in order to defend yourself against a knife, you have to know how to fight with a knife. A knife fighter will be able to defend himself. Now that you have a knife in your hand, the first thing that you have to know is what not to do. We showed you a few variations of what not to do in terms of blocking. I'm going to get into that in a little bit more detail now. Steve. Okay, I'm going to come in with a strike, and Steve is going to block, and he's going to do something that perhaps you've seen before. I come in, he blocks, and he kills me. I come in again, he blocks, and I'm dead again. I come in with downward strike, and here we go. Now, that looks fine from the naked eye. It looks fine in a book, as long as someone's locking that thing out. But if we're moving around the way a knife fight would be, I don't think he's going to be able to do that. Because you've got to make contact on the first motion. You don't have time for a block and then a strike. So when I come in, the minute he blocks, boom, he's cut already. The minute he blocks with his hand, boom, it's in and out. You see, so any strike I come with, any shot here, he's already cut. So he doesn't have time to block with his passive hand first. What he does have time to do is if I come in, is to cut my hand on the first motion. So as soon as I come in, boom, now he's taken the knife from me. He has defanged the snake. No matter what angle I come at Steve, he's cut me already. He's cut me already. Even if I'm flicking the knife out like a boxer, he's going to take it here. And a lot of people think that you can take a shot on the arm. They think, well, I'll just put this arm out here. The knife will come in and I'll take it here, and then I'll feed it back. No, that doesn't work. Number one, when you're cut on the forearm, it's not just, oh, there's a cut and there's a little line and I'm bleeding, but In a fight, I've got pain tolerance. I'm not going to get too graphic, but without getting overly graphic, the body goes into shock. Within 2 seconds, you're bleeding, you're ready to pass out in about 15 seconds, your body's already pumped, you're moving around. It cuts here, it's open. Your body goes into instant shock. You have no timing, you have no footwork, you have about 3 seconds to do whatever it is you're going to do, if that. So the minute you take the knife hand and cut it, that is the end of the fight. To illustrate that point of cutting the hand, defanging the snake, let's see what this knife does to the side of beef. And I have news for you. That side of beef is no different than your arm. So this is the first thing I want you to remember, first thing I want you to write down. You cut on first motion. With that idea in mind, let's get to business. Now, remember what I said. In order to defend against a knife, you have to learn how to fight with a knife. So in order to fight with a knife, you have to A, know what targets you're aiming at, and B, know what targets your opponent is going to hit you with. Most of the time, the opponent is going to be aiming for your head or for your stomach. He's just going to come in wild. He doesn't know the subtleties of hitting the hand and taking the fang from the snake. So therefore, if he's aiming for your head, you aim for his hand. You have at least an 80% advantage in speed here. Now, Mark comes in. If he aims for my head, boom, this is my cut on the arm right away. Most people keep that knife out, and then they come in to try to thrust you. If I try to block and come back with him, it's a 50-50 thing. But if I keep my knife tucked in, and I'm moving around, up on my toes, more like a boxer, and he comes in for my head, this is when I cut the hand. Again, slow. This is my hand cut right away. So for him to get to my face, he has to get past this knife. That's a very difficult task to do, unless I'm trying to block. So when he tries to get to my face, any angle he comes at, any different angle, I'm cutting. So the concept is, keep the knife tucked in, move around, stay up on your toes, and cut that limb. That is what's going to save you. Now, as I said before, your best target to shoot at would be the arm. Now, this is always assuming that you're fighting a good knife fighter. A good knife fighter's got his knife right here, chambered, and he's moving around. If he is in this position, and if he fires a weapon, that's when you cut it. Now, if you have an opponent that doesn't know how to fight with a knife, he's got it in his rear hand and he's just coming at you wild, it would be stupid for me to wait until that thing comes and then finally cut it, because I've got all this target area that I can be attacking first. So let's talk about what target area I could attack if he comes at you in this position, where you see this before you see this. Now, our first position, starting with the limb, is the wrist. Now, the timetable varies upon his weight. It can be anywhere from 2 minutes to 30 seconds to 20 seconds. This is all dependent upon how deep I go and the weight of him. Okay, so we start here, the wrist. The antecubital fossa, which is the inner elbow. You don't want all that mumbo-jumbo, the inner elbow. You have the armpit. You have the neck. Going down the body, you have the solar plexus. Now, is this to say that if you miss the solar plexus and get the ribs, it's not going to be any good? We're dealing with a knife. I'm just saying you have better and then you have good. You have the hip. You have behind the knee, and then you have the Achilles tendon. These are your primary spots. If you miss the Achilles tendon and slash the calf, that'll work too. Now, if he comes at you, let's say, with a kick, you just treat the leg like a weapon. So when he comes at you with a kick, you just cut the leg on the first motion. So basically, the main point I want you to remember is everything in the body is a good target, but you have better targets, depending on the positioning that he comes at you with. Okay? And if you think that everything is a good target, then that'll teach you to respect the knife. Because on the other end of that, any place you get cut is going to do some serious damage. So I want you to start this tape off respecting the knife. Now that we know what not to do, and now that we know the different targets you can aim at, what I'm going to do now is give you our numbering system. Once again, a numbering system is nothing more than a reference. So you don't have to say, do like this to me, or do like this to me. You just say, give me this number, give me a number 2, or give me a number 4. I'm just going to make it very simple, 5 numbers. A diagonal down, a slashing down, or a thrusting down is an angle 1. So if it comes down at a diagonal, either a thrust or a slash, that's an angle 1. If it comes a backhand diagonal, it's an angle 2. It could thrust. If it comes at a horizontal blow, lower, this is an angle 3. Horizontal blow this way, backhand is an angle 4, and a thrust straight ahead is an angle 5. It could be a thrust this way or a slash this way on the 3 and then the 4. Doesn't matter. So we have a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5. Now, with these numbers in mind, we're going to get to work defending different combinations of different numbers. Now you have your knife, and we're going to get started. I'm going to break this tape into two categories as far as the techniques go and as far as the training methods go. Training methods are to develop attributes, and techniques are actual things that you could possibly do in a fight. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about disarming the knife. When you see us doing our techniques and our disarms, I want you just to remember one thing. You never look for a knife disarm. It happens to be there, you take it. If it's not there, you don't take it. Chances are, if you're in a knife fight, someone comes at you with a knife, you're just going to make one shot right across the arm, and it's going to be over. If you miss, and you catch it with your checking hand, you're in a struggling situation, this is where the techniques could come in. But while we're doing these techniques, I want you to keep in mind that they're going to be developing attributes to help you move better when you fight. Okay, now keep this in mind. Now we're going to start off, we have 5 angles. We're going to start off with the angle 5 first, and then we're going to go to an angle 2. And you're going to see why we go to these particular 2 angles. Okay, Mark, come in at an angle 5. As he comes in at this angle, I cut first. First thing I want to do is get out of the way of this. That's the first thing. I want this motion. Because the one thing the knife brings out is cat-like movement. When you train with the knife, you move more like a cat. You don't move like a boxer, like a Rocky Marciano. You get up on your toes, more like a Sugar Ray Leonard. Now, with that cat-like movement, he comes in with a 5. I cut. But when I cut here, I hook the knife back. Now, if you notice in this position, he cannot attack me at any of these angles. I have zoned all these angles, and there's one angle that he can attack me at. That's the angle 2. I'm ready for this angle. When I get this angle, I'm going to cut, disarm, take the throat, and throw. This is our first technique. Now, what I would like you to do is look at this again slowly and watch my body mechanics. Very slowly. Move over. Okay. Cut. Hook. Now, this motion here can be done this way also. Straight down. We take it here first and just drive it straight down. Now that I've got this locked in position on a 90-degree angle, he's got one shot he can attack me with, and I'm ready for it. Boom. That's my cut and my disarm. From the natural momentum of that, I go to here, and then that's my hook, and that's my throw. We're going to do it one more time slow. 1, 2. I catch it here, and I hook the knife in. I take my knife to disarm. The momentum goes here, follows up to here. I hook the knife. I have a slight wrist lock here, turning back, and this is my throw. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay with the angles 5 to a 2 because these angles bring out the best in you in body mechanics. We're going to show some arm locks. We're going to show some trapping. Remember, these are more techniques but drills too. You're not going to do these exactly the way we're doing them here in a fight. It's just if it happens to be there, you do it. And if you notice that one of us is in this grip and one is in this grip, this is very important. You have to pick that up right away. One has a standard grip and one has the false grip. Okay, Mark, Mark's going to come in with the angle 5 again. I'm going to cut it much in the same way I did last time. He's going to now hook. I catch it here, and I'm going to cut. So far, this is the same. I'm going to disarm, and now, instead of a cut and a throw, I'm going to go into a lock. The minute I disarm here and I make a little cut here, I'm going to hook it around, and this is my takedown. From this position, I just pull out, and this is bargaining position. Okay, we're going to do it one more time, slow. Follow along with me. He comes in, we take this first shot. He comes up here, we catch. We're going to cut, and we're going to disarm. Now, from this disarm, I'm going to make a little cut, come around and hook. This is my takedown. I hook around to here, and this is my bargaining position again. Now we're going to do the same technique again, realistic speed. Okay, Mark, come in. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do a third technique, and I'm going to add a different lock. Now you say, why so many locks? Why the variations? Bruce Lee talked about simplicity. Well, we're talking about simplicity. We're talking about economy of motion. We're not talking about simplicity and quantity of techniques. For example, when Mark comes in with a 5 and I cut, he comes up to here and I disarm and I cut. If his energy is pushing me at this point, this is when I would come around to come up to this technique. If, at this point, if his energy was going toward my right shoulder, I would take it into this technique. So my sensitivity of feeling him at this point right here will dictate what technique I go on. So I have to know what technique to do, and I have to have a variety of techniques in order to be as simple as possible. Now, let's go through this one more time, slowly. Angle 5, this is the same. It comes up to here, and I cut, I disarm. Now from here, I'm going to just raise up here, bring my knife hand in, cut, and just hook straight to here. Now with me again, one more time, we're going to go slow. He comes in, we cut and we hook. He comes up to here and I cut, I disarm. From this position, I raise to here, come around, and hook. This is my position. Okay, regular speed, he comes in. Now, I'm going to show one more technique against the 5-2. Once again, there's a multitude of techniques you can show. From the 5-2 to the 5-3, the 1-3, the 1-5. We have 5 angles, you got 25 possibilities. If we come up with 12 angles, you got 144 possibilities. What I'm trying to say is techniques are not where it's at, but you should know a few. But the main thing we want to get out of this tape is the way you move, body mechanics, sensitivity, the attributes, and get a few techniques that you use all those attributes for. Now, Charlie's going to come in. He's going to feed me with the 5. I cut, and he's going to come up. Instead of me catching it with his hand, his energy is going to be such that my front hand will need to come up because my body positioning will be a little bit different. So with this technique, he comes in here, and now I'm a little bit more angled this way. So if I bring my rear hand up, it'll come up too slow because of my body positioning. So therefore, if I have good sensitivity, I will bring the front hand back up. When I bring the front hand back up, I hook it around and feed the knife back out of politeness. I bring it back up to here, and this is bargaining position again. Let's try it one more time slowly. Charlie comes in, I cut and I hook. Comes up to here, I hook around and I feed it. The minute I feed it, I take it to here, and this is my position. What I want you to do is I want you to pick up the speed a little bit. You're going to watch me, and I'm going to go through the same body mechanics with you. What I want to do is I want to address the word energy. I keep bringing that up a lot. When I say energy, I'm not talking about some mystical, magical chi or whatever. What I'm talking about is just simply pressure. Pressure is him pushing on me in any particular position. For example, if Charlie has this grip, and if he's pushing down on me here, if I fight this, there's a chance I could slip off, and this could be crucial. But if I have energy or sensitivity, as he's pushing down this way, I just ride with it. And then it's crucial for the other person. So that's what I call sensitivity. Now, let's go through the whole technique once again a little bit faster. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you another drill. This drill is a little bit less reflexes and a little bit more sensitivity. But it still is reflexes also. This is going to sort of blend them. It's a little bit more difficult. We're going to start off with one side thrusting in angle 1. And all I want you to practice is a shoulder stop. Okay, so when Mark comes in, This is the first stop I want you to practice. Okay, now, from this position, when I stop it here, he's going to circle around to try to cut me here. He's aiming for my throat here. The minute I get the shot in, as he circles, boom, this is my first shot in the eye. Now let's do that again. I have the shoulder stop here, and then boom, straight to here. From here, I can disarm if I want the side of the blade. I can lock. I can do what I want to do. But we're going to continue the flow just for drill's sake. So once again, slow, 1, circle, 2. Watch my body. Real slow. 1, 2. That's all I want you to do. Go through that slowly. Now that we've covered a few techniques, we know how to hold the knife, we know how to move with the knife, we know a few sensitivity drills. What I'm going to work is what to do after you've cut that limb and how to follow up to get to those targets where you don't need sensitivity because you've disarmed the knife already. So what we're going to work is follow-ups from here. We call it cutting and slicing. Usually you thrust and then you slash, or you slash and then you thrust. These are follow-up techniques after you've entered and after you've disarmed the knife with a cut. Okay, Mark comes in with a number 1. I'm going to cut here, cut, and slice again. Watch again. 1 across the wrist, 2 across the waist, 3 across the throat, and 4 across the arm. Regular speed. Okay, one more time. Now, you can alter these targets from the throat here back to the knee. So what we've got is we've got across here, here, or here. Across the shin and knee, behind the leg. Now he's got an angle 2. Angle 2, I'm going to slash this way. Very slow. I cut, check, slash, slash. Again. And one more time. Once again, does it matter if we went here or if we went here? They're all going to work with a knife. What is important is that the body moves fluidly. And you don't make one thrust, come in, pull out, come in again, but you're continually moving with the knife. That's what's important. Angle 3, right across the arm, right across the throat. Again, arm, throat. We can vary it, throat, arm. We can vary it, throat, knee. Angle 4, right across the kidney, right across the throat. Again, right across the arm, throat. He comes in with a 5. Slice across the arm. Comes in with a 5 again. Just take it here on the ulna. He comes in again. Just back out. He comes in again. You zone and you come to here. Notice very slowly, I get my body out of the way. As I do this, that's when I make my movement. So these are all follow-up techniques. Now let's see you try some. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get to the brunt of our training where you get to apply what you've learned throughout the rest of the tape. This is actual knife sparring. I want you to watch these guys when they spar. Pay particular attention to the footwork, the timing, the rhythm, when they choose to hit. We don't have headgear. We're not going to go to the face because we want you to see the subtlety of the hands. Okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to have the rear hand for the boxing glove, so they're going to hit with the rear hand. They're going to be able to kick. We're going to put in all the different variables. All right, we ready? Salute. And begin. now, the reason we hit the conga is because you're subconsciously listening to that accent, and that gets you to bring out a little bit more broken rhythm. When they're training, what I want you to notice is the contact that they're using. We have the pads on. We can go full contact. We're banging through the legs. Also, when we're cutting the arms, I want you to notice when they enter, you won't see disarms. You won't see a lot of the techniques that we had applied, and that's because we're using this particular training method just as an entry. Once they enter, they would need to take the gloves off and actually be hitting on the hand to go through a disarm. Because if you've entered and hit the hand, now when the knife is dangling there, then you disarm it. Otherwise, it's just an irrelevant point. All right, now in the next match, I'm going to go double knife sparring, and I want you to notice how it squares off the body, promotes lateral footwork, and the use of the left hand. Good, very good. Okay, now what I want you to pick up is when they're sparring, they're using more lateral motion now. They're not exactly coming in like they would with a single knife, but they're more this way. They're trading a little bit, they're coming in, they're going out, they're kicking. A lot of what you can't see to the naked eye is if the cut were there, the body would go into instant shock and then you could follow up and do what you want. So what you see is when you see the cut, we continue. So it tends to look a little bit like a clash. In reality, it wouldn't quite look that way. Okay, so when you pick up your double knife, I want you to keep your feet a little bit closer together and think more of lateral movement. Now, what I'm going to talk about is empty hand versus knife. The first thing I want you to think of is that side of beef. When you think of that, then I want you to think of yourself, because you have no idea how dangerous that knife is. So we have an old saying at our academy, and that is, if you ever meet a knife, you run. If you can't run, you fly. If you can't fly, you get an equalizer. What do I mean by an equalizer? Anything. A picture frame, a glass. If you're at a restaurant, hot coffee, tables flipping. I don't care what it is, you use it, because you have to respect the fact that that knife is going to do you damage. If you happen to be in a knife fight and you're moving around, and if you lose your knife and if you drop it, then you're under the same circumstances. You don't have a knife. The first thing you should be doing is keeping your eye on your opponent and scanning with your peripheral vision how to get the hell away from there. If you can't do that, then you back yourself up against the wall so you know where you're at, and then you face him. If you're going to face him, the best thing to do is to keep your arms in, use your arms coming down to destroy the nerves on the arm, because we already know we can't block a knife. So the first thing, we have two things to remember. Destroy the arms and stop it with the legs. This is only going to buy you time. It's going to save you a little bit of time from the inevitable. But I want you to watch how this goes, and keep in mind how many times he's getting cut. Even a skilled practitioner, knowing what's going on in the studio, and still you're going to watch him get cut. All right, now pay attention to this. It's perhaps the most important part. All right, ready? Salute. And begin. And break. Now what we're going to do is we're going to replace this knife, and we're going to put a magic marker in the hand, and we're going to find out just where he gets cut. Now we're going to pick it up, round two. Ready? And go. Okay? Now, this is basic spots. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this is within a 30-second period of time. So I want you to keep this in mind. Still, it might save your neck one day. If you're going to do anything, that's what you're going to do. Other than that, let's go with the 3 rules. Run, hide, or fly. Now, in this round, we're going to step up the contact a little bit. We're going to be going to the face. Bill and Mark are going to use every part of the body as a target. The kicks, the hand, the elbows, the headbutts. Okay, keep your eye out on the footwork and the combativeness when they enter and when they get out. Okay, ready? Salute. Go. Break. Okay, break. Good. All right, when you're doing knife sparring, any type of full contact, do not do this type of sparring without adequate gear and proper supervision. All right, in conclusion, I want you to remember we covered all the different techniques, we covered different ranges, we covered different attributes. But your very best technique are those attributes. Timing, rhythm, speed, footwork. These are the things that are going to save you in a knife fight. And you have to remember this. If you can't function with timing and with good rhythm and with good footwork when the adrenaline rushes on, when somebody's facing you and they're going to cut you with a knife, then it's no good. So what I want you to do is I want you to use your imagination as your very best tool. And when you train in front of the mirror, that's what I want you to think of. With this in mind, good luck, and remember, the imagination is your best tool. Thank you very much.